Hello, my name is Laura Hyman. I'm a physical therapist and the creator of the Lit Yoga method, where we use brain-body connection to help us rewire better habits in our body, in our breath, and our movement. And one of those habits is getting our hips more mobile. A lot of people complain about hip tightness, but what's really happening is the hips are not balanced. The hip is a ball and socket joint. This is the pelvis. This is the femur of the thigh bone, and the top of the femur is this ball. And the hip moves all in it. It's called a ball and socket joint. But if our pelvis is moving over the ball of the joint too much, like in daily life, shifting forward, you kind of clog that range of motion. So we need to open that up and move it in all the different ways. So we're going to do a quick hip mobility flow that will really help if you do this several times a week to create more balance in the hips. So the pelvis, when you put your hands on either side, these big wide bones are your pelvis. We're going to create stability there and just sit tall. And so you want to really use your core to lift your spine tall and try and create some space in the little hip crease here. You can bring your hands behind you to help out, keeping your chest open, and then just begin to move your thighs side to side. So just imagine this little rocking of that ball inside the pelvis. So I'm not moving my pelvis with it, I'm just holding the pelvis steady and just rocking side to side. So this starts the action of getting some joint synovial fluid going. That's like your own WD-40 that you want to keep active, keep mobile, and that beautiful liquid of synovial fluid gets replenished with movement. So just this small movement can really help. So we'll do this about 4 more times. And again, I'm holding tone in my abdominals to prevent my ribs and pelvis moving. And then we're going to hold it over to the left side and come onto the left hip. So I'm not mirroring you. So you could be on your right hip. And your forearm is down, and you're going to stack your knees and bring the knees in close to prevent that pelvis from moving forward. You can bring your top hand on the pelvis, flex your feet, and bring the top knee off the bottom knee. Now we're going to keep this parallel, and you want to slide it like it's going across a low coffee table. So we're just moving it forward and back. This is called flexion when the thigh comes closer to you, and then extension is when it comes away. Now hold your hand on your front ribs to just check in that you're not moving your ribs. That means you're moving your spine and your pelvis. So you're trying to borrow movement from there instead of isolating in the hip. And that's very important for hip mobility. Is something is moving, that's that ball in the pelvis, and then something's got to be stabilizing against that movement. That's your pelvis and then your rib cage, because they work in collaboration. So you should feel a little bit of glute activity as you push back, and it might be limited. Don't, again, move anywhere else to try and make the movement bigger, because we have to change that pattern. That might be something you do in daily life. Let's do that 2 more times. Again, just getting this nice and mobile and fluid. And then we're just going to bring it forward and try and stretch it straight out, and then rebend it, and we'll bring it back and see if we can straighten a little bit, maybe just a little bit, and bring it forward and straighten. And I'm using my bottom rib and shoulder to hold strong. Straighten and back 1 more time, forward, and then we go back, holding the rib steady, straighten that knee a little bit. We'll go to the other side. So same thing, the knees are in snug, forearm is down, ribs are steady. Flex your feet and bring that top knee off the bottom. And then you can just really watch it. You can also put your fingers right in this pocket of space where the thigh meets the pelvis, right at the hip joint, and make sure that's moving and the pelvis again is not. You'll notice it's really natural to have one side feel more restricted. And that isn't actual tissue tightness, it's neurological tightness. So your body gets used to the way you habitually do things, meaning every day. So this is the way you change it. And over time, it'll get more balanced, and your left and right side will get more even. They don't have to be perfectly the same. Now let's start that action forward. Straighten the knee, so you're getting a little stretch on the back of the leg, and then behind, straighten it just enough that you hold it at this height. Another tendency sometimes is people will lift the knee up, and you really want to keep it along that imaginary coffee table. One more time here. The hips should already feel more heated and more active. Now we're going to bring it around onto all fours. You can have blocks if your shoulders feel restricted and you're really hunching over, but you want your knees close by and you want to try and get your ears above the shoulders. You're going to hold the ribs steady by really firming and toning the abdominals, because if the ribs drop down, look what happens. The pelvis tips up and then you clog that hip space. So hold that, and we're going to slide your left leg back. Now firm that left glute, and we're going to do the same action we did when we brought it behind us. This is hip extension. You don't want any movement of the pelvis when you're doing it. So really tell this left glute, and you can even put your hand there. The left glute is moving the hip. Hip mobility in extension, this movement they're doing, is really restricted for a lot of people because of our sitting. Most of us are sitting a lot. So this whole front of the pelvis into that thigh gets really restricted. And then we're going to hold the left toes down, and then we're going to slide the left toes over to the right and then back in. This is called adduction, which is bringing it into midline, and we're actually going across. Again, holding the pelvis steady. One more like that. And then we'll hold it like that and breathe and hold that chest open, and you can even rock a little bit here. So I'm rocking on my left toes, but it actually is giving a little joint mobility into the right hip, the bottom one. Then we're going to take that rock out, slide the left leg back in line, and then we're going to try and slide it way out to the side. This is again where the blocks can be handy. And that leg is out, and this is going to stretch the adductors, but we're also going to do a little joint glide into the right hip. So we'll slide back, and notice again, we don't want to tip the pelvis at all or collapse in the ribs. We'll keep the ears above the shoulders. Two more like this. And this will feel restricted for a lot of people because, again, if you're sitting a lot, your adductors, those inner thighs, get shortened. Last time here, we're going to try and turn the hip so the foot turns away to some degree. This is external rotation, and we'll just lunge into it slightly. So I'll show you with blocks. This is a nice way to get that opening, and I'm not letting that left half of the pelvis tip onto the left thigh. This is such a lovely stretch, and also getting that joint mobility. All right, and then we'll bring that knee down. Let's do the other side. Again, you can keep your hands on the blocks or not. We'll slide the right leg back. And let's just start by lifting it up and down. And don't lift any higher than you have the range for right now, but holding the tone in the abdominals is going to help that glute perform its action. And then it'll help that joint move in extension. Two more. And last time, we'll lightly have the toes down, and then we're going to slide them across over to the left and then back in. Keeping in mind, we want that pocket of space in this left hip, so I'm not tipping into it. Also, watch your elbows. You don't want them locking forward. You're just pushing the floor away and keeping the chest open. Last one of these, we'll slide, and then we're going to take that big slide over to the right. You can bend your knee. If you need to, you can bring your hands on blocks, and then we lightly start to hinge into this hip. Similar to when you were thinking about the coffee table, look, I'm trying to go in the same plane. I'm not trying to dip my pelvis down. I'm just rocking back. Light on that left knee by lifting up in the pelvic contents. And then we'll take that right foot, so I'll turn this way so you can see it, and we'll spin into some degree. So don't force it. Just find that place and then let your foot reflect it. And then we can hinge into this. And as I'm hinging, pelvis isn't moving. I'm just rocking and opening into that right deep inner groin. One more like that. Using the floor is a great way to get more hip mobility because you're getting a lot more feedback and information. And then we're going to bring our right knee down. Tuck your toes, lift up, You can take blocks with you, so I'll have them here to show you, and you walk back and load your heels. So if you need blocks to keep the spine long, do that, but we are going to take our fingers and put them right into that hip crease. And what we want to feel is that there's space. If the pelvis tips onto it, you'll feel your fingers get squished. So this is active hip flexion. Some people think you don't need hip flexion because you're sitting a lot in this type of position. But actually sitting passively doesn't mean you have good hip flexion. We have to actively get it. And we're feeling this hopefully in the glutes. Your weight is in the center of the feet, and then we'll come all the way up. And as you stand, the pelvis doesn't rock forward. We're just pushing the floor away. Now we're going to stand on our left leg and lift this right knee up, like you can hold your hand there, and then lower. So this is active hip flexion. And notice I'm not leaning back to do it or tipping or changing anything in the ribs. So we'll just do this 3 more times. And then we're going to add on to that. We'll bring it up and then we'll bring it out. So it's down, up, and you want to feel like you've almost got like a little bungee cord. And all that movement is happening in the hip. Honor your natural turnout. Everybody's turnout will be a little different, so we don't want to force it. We're just, again, getting that hip mobility. 1 more. And then we'll take that leg and externally rotate it here. So turning that thigh out, and you can place the foot somewhere on the thigh and start to sit back. Now, as you're sitting back, we don't want this knee to go down as much as we want it to go forward. So we're opening up that hip space. You can have your hands on a chair or try balancing. And then let's do the other side. So we'll start nice and tall and lift. Putting your hand there is just a guidepost. And as I'm lifting this and working on left hip flexion, I'm pushing down into the right big toe pad. Now let's start bringing it up and then bringing it out. So my left hip doesn't want to turn out as much and I'm not forcing it. I just turn it out to where it feels good, really nice in the movement. We want to get this kind of rubber band effect. Light, 1 more time. And then we'll hold it forward, get a little external rotation, place it on that thigh. You could have a hand on the wall and start to hinge back. And then this knee on the top is going forward more than down. And breathe here. And you want to keep that spine nice and long, front rib stable. And last thing we're going to do is in standing, we're doing that abduction. So we did adduction, which is crossing over. This is going away, and it's just, I'm putting my hands right on the pelvis because I don't want the pelvis to move my leg. I'm moving underneath right in the hip joint, side to side. You can also point, but you want to look down and make sure your toes are facing forward. And you'll feel this in the lateral glutes. This is great for strengthening those glutes, but also creating that mobility. And 1 more time. Good. All right, now just notice how it feels. Certainly you should feel more circulating energy in there. It's a short little hip mobility flow. You can add on to it. You can check out what we have on our Lit Daily platform, but I hope that your hips feel more mobile and ready for the day.